Good morning. Happy Tuesday. Hello, Linda, Kia, Maureen, Rachel. Hello, 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 hello. How's everybody doing today? Hello. 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 Oh, good morning, Jen. Hello, everybody. Morning from a cool Chicago. I wish it was cool here. It's like humid and gross. I hate it so much. It was like supposed to be cooler, although I knew it was going to be humid because it's like a week of rain, which is good. We need this rain like really bad. If this like week full of rain can reduce our water deficit, I will be happy about that. I don't know how much rain we've gotten through the last, however many days, but how you doing, DG? More things in Chicago. Doubles. Gonna be 87 here today, but luckily this morning it's a bit cooler. Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat cooler here in the sense of it's not insanely hot, but it's just so humid out. It's disgusting. Hey, Eleanor. Good morning. How are you, my friend? Ugh. Whew. I feel like I have been in like this daze for the last far too long, if that makes sense. Morning, Philip. Well, yeah, I mean, you're Florida, Eleanor. You guys live the humidity like all day, every day. It's Texas runoff day. All right. So we've got a couple people that I interviewed that are in their runoff. Hey, Laura. We've got Chelsea, got Dax, pretty sure it's Dax, my brain. And then we see who wins for the Senate seat on the Republican side. On the positive side, guys, as you can see, we are over halfway through the first goal for this trip that I'm doing, which is amazing. Thank you everyone that has given towards it. You guys friggin' rock the his house. Have I heard from Chelsea? No, she's been a busy woman for obvious reasons, having to run again. I reached out to her wishing her luck today, but that's all I have heard from her. My portable AAC thingy will be getting delivered today. Hell yeah. Yeah, my kiddo's 19 and that just feels weird. It feels so weird. Morning, April. How is it possible when you're only 27? You know, started young, obviously. Morning, Angel. Today is her birthday. So we celebrated it in general on Sunday with friends. We went out and had hot pot. But today is her birthday. I baked a have you guys heard of Nothing Bunt Cake? I think. Is that what it's called? The cake place. Yeah, Nothing Bunt Cake. So I made my own version of that because I'm not spending that kind of money on a bundt cake. So I made a red velvet bundt cake and I made copycat frosting and all that stuff. So, and then I forgot to take a picture of it, but it hasn't been eaten yet, so I got to take a picture of it. Hey, Wendy. We ended up at Catalina Beach for a weekend, not one drop of rain, 85 degrees all weekend, heading home today, though. Hey, congratulations on the luck. It is funny how much everyone loves red velvet cake when it's literally chocolate cake with red food coloring. Like, it's chocolate cake that you like. Just making sure everyone's aware. And this is coming from someone who loves red velvet. Carolina Beach. Yeah. But it's red. That's true. That's true. I know. There is no slander. I just, like I said, as someone who loves red velvet cake myself, I laugh when I think about the fact that what I love is chocolate cake. That's just got red food coloring. I mean, it's possible the red food coloring changes the flavor a little bit. I don't know. I can't imagine it would, but it might. My youngest son sent me a dozen mini cupcakes from Nothing Bunt Cake for Mother's Day. Yeah. Eating involves all senses. That is fair, Jamie. That is fair. There's a chance that I just don't like the icing. I mean, it's a cream cheese icing frosting. So it's literally butter, cream cheese, and a lot of powdered sugar. Morning, Clara. Guys, did you see that we're trying to say we're still in a ceasefire after firing on places in Iran? I can't. I can't with these people. This idea that we're still in a ceasefire and yet we're firing on people is just wild. I always would rather make it from scratch. Scratch cake is just so much better. Right. Self-defense. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Totally. I think I'm finally starting to feel myself get out of the rut that I'm in. Which is nice. Like, I haven't been able to make a video in like a few days. I've just been posting the videos I've already recorded, but I haven't been able to make anything new. Just feeling overwhelmed. And I'm feeling myself starting to finally move out of it, which is nice, which is important. It's necessary. It's needed. I used to make all my cakes and decorations from scratch. I've done numerous birthday and baby shower cakes along with 2 wedding cakes. Hell yeah. Have I read about the situation? Yeah. It was a dumb statement. It was such a dumb statement. It was such a dumb statement. She needs to step out. It was an absolutely stupid ass statement. She's trying to play she's trying to like make up for it now, but I want to make flour cupcakes. I'm just afraid that I won't have the patience. You're talking about like flour with the icing, like put flowers on top. If you want to get good with icing, you just have to be willing to like practice. That's the only way you get good with that. Yeah, Kia, she said that she wants to put all Zionists in prison in the US or something like that. I can't remember the exact wording, but it was something similar to that. And again, I'm not a fan of Zionists in any way, shape, or form, but it was a dumbass statement to make. You made a poop emoji cake for your son once? Heck yeah. I'm not patient enough for baking, although I did make a TMT cupcakes for the boys once, even made green frosting. Heck yeah. I have never had a desire to get good at frosting. Like, in general, I can't, especially now because my dominant hand is my tremor hand. So it would probably be impossible for me to get good at frosting. Doing the nothing bundt cake style was easy because it's just, you kind of do lines down every one of the grooves, and I had extra, so I just put more on. But the nothing bundt cake style is easy. The rest of baking is all my thing. Chrissy won't touch baking unless she absolutely has to. I'm the baker. I'm pretty much everything, actually, at this point. She has a couple things that she makes. Mostly just because she knows how to and she feels comfortable. But in general, I pretty much make everything. But I've always enjoyed it, so. Yes, it's nice to see people back. I know yesterday, hopefully yesterday was restful for people. I know there were people even that came on but weren't really engaging per se, which is totally fine. But it's nice to see people back. It was very quiet. I grilled for the first time yesterday, never felt comfortable with it, but you did it. Heck yeah. Again, just like with all of them, here's the problem. And I find it to be more difficult now than before. So, like, what is the reason that, like, I could see people not wanting to get used to doing things like grilling or cooking or any of that? Because in real life, like in the grand scheme of things, the way you get good is by failing, right? When money is tight and things are tight in general, who has time, like who can afford to fail? Like that's really the problem, right? Right now is what is necessary to be able to get good at something is almost feels out of reach because no one wants the chance wasting food or anything like that. I burnt my fair share of stuff. I did when I was younger, sure. That's why my wife doesn't want to try and learn some of these things, is she's very worried about failure. But she's like perfectionist kind of a person, so like she takes failing personally. Yeah, you just got to fail up. Your dogs have gotten some yummy stuff you've messed up. There you go. What's up, Jeremiah? How you doing, buddy? Oh. Cooking and bacon since I was very young. Oh yeah, I mean, when I was in middle school, we actually had like cooking classes still. I loved to cook and bake growing up. My dog got his first taste of pulled pork this weekend. Now he refuses to eat. He's on a hunger strike. More pulled pork. There. There. Yeah, we had home ec. Yep. Learned how to sew too. Although I don't do that very much for obvious reasons. In general, clothing nowadays isn't made in a way that can be sewn back up, but I know how to do it. Morning, OC. Another day in the neighborhood. Another day in paradise. Didn't think you'd go live yesterday, but caught the replay on the two balls grill. Well, I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Guys, if you're over here on the TikTok, please tap that nose, share, do all the things that help push this out to more people. Today's a big day in Texas. What do you think is the best administration in American history? Probably the one that I would say that did the most, especially for growing the working class, FDR. I think it was FDR, right? The New Deal. And again, not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but because again, I think the president and the administration's job is to do things that help literally all Americans. And that's one thing that I think this administration, more than any other, is not. And the worst, I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to go with this one. Yeah, he's probably going to tell them that he's going to the doc today. Think he's going to tell us he passed another cognitive test? Yeah, probably. Passed it with flying colors. Guys, if you're over here on TikTok, please tap that nose. It really does help. What's up, AJ? Going to be the hardest thing ever, and he's going to pass it with flying colors. What do you think of the Iranian team being denied entry for the World Cup? Thank you, Kelly. I think we shouldn't be having the World Cup. I think it's ridiculous that they're denying entry for the World Cup as well. But I also don't think we should have it. If he's a stable genius, I'm the Queen of England. Seriously. Guys, it was so hard. It was so hard. They asked me to remember an elephant and then a dog and then a cockroach. And I had to remember the order, and I was able to do it No one was able to do it before me. That's what the doctor told me. The UK should not give Iran nuclear weapons. Draw a clock. Draw a clock and then tell me the time. I don't think we should. But I also don't think anyone should have nuclear weapons. Like anyone. Us. Literally anyone. Hey, Alejandro. You're the biggest danger to global society, not Iran. You're talking about the United States? I guess I'm wasting my time. That's the first statement I've seen come from you. But have a good day. I mean, I think the MAGA nationalists are I would say ultra conservatives are the biggest danger to global society. Because you've got that going on in a bunch of different countries right now. That people that would do and act the exact same way that this current administration is acting in multiple countries. Good morning, Miley. Good morning. Is it Obi? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Hello, Summer. How's it going? Hello from the Netherlands. Hello, Netherlands. I want to go to the Netherlands. How are things in the Netherlands today? Oh, the sun. Thank you for those sunglasses. I appreciate you. Guys, it was another day of a ceasefire without a real ceasefire. You have a nice holiday? Yesterday was insanely busy. The president? I agree. The president is blinded by his ignorance. So are most of the people that support him. If not all. Some aren't ignorant. They're just going for money and power, but... Oh. Okay. Our ceasefire and word is a joke. Yep. I'd never go to America, not if you paid me. That's fair. Why'd I just have to refollow you? Hey, Siberia, long time no see. How are you? I heard JD. There is a report, or there was reporting coming out that JD is feeling more isolated and is considering not running in 2028. Guys, if you're over here on TikTok, there's 70 of you. Please tap that nose. Mark Cuban will tell us how bad the economy is, but his company continuously overcharges us. So here's the thing, and again, not a Mark Cuban fan. I do want to say this though: when it comes to the economy, we are in a issue of a constant downward spiral problem. So in order to cover costs, we know it costs a lot to live right now. Like cost of living, especially if you're a business, is high. So what people have to charge in order to survive is high, but because people aren't getting paid cost of living, they cannot, it's still too high. So it's like we either need to do like a massive reset on things to bring prices down, but the only way to bring prices down is to bring the cost of living down, or we need to bring people's pay up. Those are the only two choices. We either have to bring pay up or we have to bring cost of living down. I'm not sure we can bring cost of living down, because here's the problem. Like, can you imagine if everyone's, as long as so many things in this country are considered commodities, it will be impossible to really bring down the prices. Bringing pay up does not bring, if pay coincides with cost of living, then pay always equals cost of living. You just also have to add regulations in there. Again, you cannot have a society without regulations, without guardrails. But people getting paid $15,000 a year in 2026 is not feasible. It's not acceptable. It's not possible. There is no, my statement is 100% true. There is no way that someone, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how little you eat or whatever, yup. Yeah, I can do it too. Your guardrails are pathetic because they didn't. No, there were other guardrails that weren't part of the Constitution. And those so they're working? Well, no, they have been gotten rid of for the last 60 years. The conservatives have been spending the last 60 years getting rid of the guardrails. That's the problem. Worst president of our lifetime. Literally no president has ever been worse than this one. No, you can't. You can name people, but no one worse than this president. You think the president has his faults, but I don't agree that he's the worst in history. I mean, you're allowed to disagree with me. He is 100% the worst in history by not just mine, but other people, by some actual metrics. Politics keep this world, society is political. It's not politics that divide us. It's people's inability to listen and learn and grow. Even worse than Carter by a billion-fold. Iran doesn't have a nuke. And according to this administration, their ability was obliterated. According to every intelligence agency, they weren't trying to get one. No, even before. Correct. Vote in the midterms. You say our admin is the worst. How so? They have ballooned the debt more than any other president in history. They have increased the cost of living. They've hurt the economy. More jobs have been lost. More people have lost access to health care. Women have lost their bodily autonomy. They basically helped gut the Voting Rights Act that so many millions of people worked to get passed, that helped start the process. Why is that one bad? Because it removed women's bodily autonomy. They want a poll tax. They lack humanity and empathy for people. I support a woman's right to make their own choices with their own body. You're right. The checks and balances are not working anymore. Totally agree. Oh, yeah, Miley. They come in waves. Guys, if you're one of the 111 people here, please tap that nose. Helps push me out to other people. And make sure you share as well. And join the team. All that stuff. By the way, hey, Shug. I don't know why I didn't say hi. It was probably because you came in when the crazies were out. Hey, Ambrosia. Have to go beside the pop-up. Have a great live day. All right, Ambrosia. Have a great day, my friend. No, we know what peace is. I don't think you know what peace is. If you think there is peace going on right now. How are we going to stop this? Vote in people that actually want change and hold them accountable if they don't do it. That's how. Pay attention to your both federal, state, and local elections. You're shaking. Shows you are not comfortable with your lies. No, I have Parkinson's disease, Gemma. Your votes aren't going to count. Yes, they are. The Republican Party, the Democratic Party, any other party is just a word. They don't actually officially, they're corporations. They don't officially count for anything. What they stand for is what matters. And yeah, back in the Civil War, the Republican Party was progressive. And then in the 60s, during the Civil Rights era, there was a switch. I care about what they stand for. Yes, it's gosh, people. You wonder why we sit here and go, can we even work this out when you're unwilling to actually pay attention to history? If you look at what Southern Democrats stood for and supported and what current Republicans stand for and support, they are the exact same things. My problem is that in politics is they make promises they can't keep. Well, no, there's two different parts to that. Yes, they make some massive promises they know they can't keep, but we as Americans don't get out and vote or put enough people in office that they could even keep those promises if they wanted to. It's because a lot of Confederates bought up the land. What? Why Republicans switched? No, that's not why Republicans switched. Republicans switched because they realized that the Republican Party switched their messaging because they realized they saw things changing and realized they could get more support from the racists and the Dixiecrats and stuff. It has nothing to do with the land. Land doesn't vote. I hear you. Sometimes we're still in disbelief that we voted this guy in. The votes are the real proof. Those tell you what a politician truly supports. Well, and unfortunately, even now we're realizing more and more that we as voters have created a system where they will vote against their own beliefs to stick with party. Morning meme, by the way. I don't know if I said hi. Community people can come up if they want. Thumbs up the Democrats.
Oh my gosh, good morning.
Morning.
What did they do this weekend that they woke up acting like this?
So they had a Memorial Day where they celebrated instead of actually remembered the people that were lost, and now they're all in their America phase, I guess. I don't know.
That part.
The voting record is a real reflection of their priorities. Well, and that's the thing. That's what it comes down to. Their priorities have been shown. We have been shown you're paid to say this stuff. I wish. Gosh. That would make life so much more simple. I wouldn't have to go through the mental anguish I go through constantly having to learn and listen if I just get paid to say things. Gosh, that would make life so much. That's the part that people don't get. Like, that is the problem with the corrupted thing, that the corruption that we're dealing with is what we're seeing because of social media and the way our system is working is people are flat out lying. And in the sense of they are saying what they don't believe most of the time. It doesn't change anything. Like, that makes them a horrible person in their own right because they don't care about the fact that they're hurting people. But we're like living in this time where it does not matter what you think. You just say whatever you need to make more money and get more followers and get more clicks and everything else. Anyone who paid attention to this live or my content knows that that is not how my content works.
Good morning, Patty. And I'd say, you know, the thing is, I think that's part of the issue too, is that I understand people are mad because I am mad. I've been mad, but they don't. I don't think they understand. To me, sometimes it shows their lack of how the system works as well. Because they sit there and talk about the Dems aren't doing anything. The Dems aren't doing anything. Well, are you looking to see what bills that the Dems are actually trying to put up, and they're not even bringing forward to vote? They can't. That's not how it works. A Dem doesn't just get to say, "Hey, we're voting on this," and it gets frustrating when they keep saying that the Dems aren't doing anything. And I'm like, okay, but have you if you look up and they haven't written or try to put any bill or any kind of anything legislation forward that the Republicans, then I could say okay. But if you're not doing that, then you're part of that problem. Like, we have to change our mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And again, I understand the frustration when you go in and vote. You vote for the person that it wants to change things, and let's even say that one person wins. And then we ignore the fact that that's the only, like, your area might be one of the only few that actually put in someone who wanted real change. And then you blame this person for not doing the work. And again, you have, depending on how the person said the things that they said, you have every right to be like, I can't support this person. Because sometimes people will say, like, straight up, I will do this. And I don't think any politician should. I think that should automatically be a no vote. If they, like, you should never vote in primaries for someone who says, I will do this. Because no politician can promise that. Except I will vote for what I think that is best for my district. Like, that is the only thing I as a politician would ever promise. I will always fight for things that will help all the people in my district. Then you would vote for no one? No, there are lots of people that are running on, again, We're living in a society right now where we have trained politicians that it doesn't matter what they say. We will vote for them, especially if they're an incumbent, and we won't hold them accountable. We need to bring accountability back. I mean, in the end, I'm going to vote for the best of the two. They all promise BS. They never deliver. No, they don't. Not all of them. Most of them don't get through the primaries because only 15 to 25% of the people actually vote in the primaries. As long as we do not get involved, as long as we lack involvement in our system as a whole, we will continue to have this problem. As long as 15 to 25% of the voting public of eligible voters take part in primaries, nothing will ever change. As long as 95% of incumbents win their primaries, because the ones that come out and vote are the ones that voted, that think like them, nothing will ever change. What is the primary vote for? For every position, for your choice, for the choice. There's more than just the president. The president has very little power in the grand scheme of things if people got more involved.
The primary is where you pick the people, the person that you want to be the one that, because a lot of times people bitch, they're like, well, you only get the choices they give you. It's like, no, because you didn't get out people, not just you, but people don't get out and actually vote the people they want to support. And they can't, you don't just get to say, hey, I'm going to win, and that you end up on the ballot. That's not how that works. You have to, the primary is for picking the people that we want to go run. That's what we pick. That's for our choices.
So when there are two people running for the Democrat ticket and one of them money wins only because we allow it to. Money wins. Why does let's talk about why money has been winning up until this moment. And I think we as a society have the capability of breaking it if we're willing to do the work. That is a big if. The reason money wins is because it gives you name recognition and visibility. But there's something that we have in this country that does not require much money if people are willing to do the work. And that's the internet. That's social media. If we as people were willing to do the work and help get those people's names out, if we as the people were willing to do the work and learn who is actually running in our districts, both federal, state, and local, and actually read up on them, do a little work, and we're talking baseline amount of work, and then actually all got out and voted, I think things would look a lot different. I think things would look so much different. See, it's more than just how they vote. It's what they try and get voted on. It's there's so much to it. But yes, I mean, how they vote is one of multiple things. Dems pass better laws. That's for sure.
I think voting, I think it's definitely, and the thing is too, is if your person, say you elect somebody and they don't do what they say they're going to do. And the thing is this, again, we have to understand, just because they want to do it doesn't mean it's even going to be brought to vote. At least check and see, did they try to get it, passed? If they're at least trying to get it passed, then to me, they're doing what's needed. And we agree here. We do agree on term limits. I've been saying term limits. I said it since as long as my brothers know me, I've been saying term limits, because I don't think that you should be able to make a career out of doing the same thing. But that's the frustrating part. If you have somebody that's not doing what they said they were going to do, or even trying to, but you don't vote for somebody else in the primary to take them on, why do you expect any change?
And here's the thing. And the idea of I'm now on board with term limits. Arguably, in a perfect world, we wouldn't need it. We already have it in place. It's called voting. The only reason I think term limits are necessary is because people don't get out and vote. But the reality is if we as a voting people got out and voted in the primaries as much, if not more, than in the general election, and started holding people accountable, that would be their term limits. Only reason we need term limits is because we don't hold our representatives accountable in the primaries. That's why. That is why. And if we want to change, if we want actual change, that's where it happens, is in the primaries. When, like, you look at, let's look at MAGA. Why are people like Tom Tillis more MAGA when they're running to vote? Because he knew that his base, that the people that voted in the Republican Party, if they didn't like what he was doing and saying based on the current climate in his party, that he would get primaried. That's what holding accountability. Now, obviously, that's a different story altogether, in my opinion, but it's still true in the sense of it's accountability. It's the knowledge that there's a good chance you could lose because of the choice you make, regardless of whether I agree with what they stand for. That's why holding accountability in the primaries is such a big deal. These politicians live and die based on this idea of probable voters. So what they do is they make decisions on what it looks like for the amount of probable voters. We need more probable voters. We need more voters in the primaries. You want to hold people accountable and get your butt out and vote. A majority of this country, a vast majority of this country, does not vote in the primaries, and barely a majority vote in the general elections. That's ridiculous. Again, I keep saying it because it keeps being true. In Hungary, where the man in charge did everything humanly possible, did worse stuff than what the GOP is doing, and they still got over 80%. And I will say this, how did the person who won win, who arguably was considered a center-left candidate for Europe? Because the people that were also running, that were farther left, said the most important thing we can do is stop what's going on. And they dropped out and they supported him. Now, again, I can't sit here and tell anyone what to do in that respect. But what we need to all realize, because I'm seeing this a ton right now, is so many people on the left, progressives, are just eating ourselves alive on things. And it's like, I think what the Nebraska Dems did was amazing. Yeah, they worked the system to potentially get someone who would be really good for their state. I know a lot of people are whining and complaining, but the reality is that in a two-party system, it makes it a lot harder to do some of these things. You just can't.
And I'll say with Tillis, they showed him talking on WRAL the other day. He's still like half in though with MAGA, because like when he was talking about, they were talking about that slush fund stuff, and he was like, well, I do believe that some of them were overcharged. You know, some of them were just there. Like, bruh, are you serious?
I mean, and some of them may have gone there without expecting to do more. Doesn't change what they potentially did. And again, it's not
No,
even.
he said the ones inside. Now, if you were still outside, okay, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. If you were one of the people, you never went in that building, I'm okay with that thought process. But if you step foot inside that door, point blank period, whether or not you damaged anything, whether or not you actually had anything to do one on one, if you cross that threshold where those police were taken down or through them doors, absolutely you should have been charged, and you should not be able to get any money for trying to do some shit like that to our government.
I wish we had a multi-party coalition type government. And you know what? We can get that. But it's going to take work by everybody. It's going to take convincing people that whether we agree or like it or not, have benefited from the current system and have to be convinced that there's a system that works better for all people. We have to convince people to have empathy and humanity again. To some extent. We have grown up. We have spent decades telling people that individualism is the most important thing. We are fighting against a level of brainwashing in this country. People that have grown up to be very individualistic. It's sad that we have to convince people to have basic.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, you can go.
I think they take it too far. I'm trying to do it in between me. I'm washing cat food cans so I can for recycling. I think they just take it too far, because you should care about yourself. But I think the problem is that they wanted people to get stuck there and not look any further than oneself, because you have to think about, making sure that you're taking care of you, because this kind of, the whole, you got to put your family first, you got to do what your family wants and all of that. I understand that part of individualism, but when it comes outside of that and taking care of yourself, I think it's just gotten way too freaking far, because like I just don't understand where the audacity comes from for somebody else, because of how you think and believe and how you want to live your life, that you should get to dictate other people, and you get to make laws about dictating that for other people. That shit just blows my mind.
Yes. And again, you all have victim mentality. No. You have an idiot mentality.
They sure do. I've muted more people today than I have in a long time, and I've actually blocked some, because what we're not going to do is come in here and disrespect Mike. And then what we're also going to do is, if I ask you not to do something or tell you we don't do something here, don't think that just because you're engaging, you get to keep saying whatever you want to say. We don't play that shit here. So just stop. There's tons of other places that you can go. They'd love to be up there, have you talking junk and all the stuff you want to do. That's not this place.
The guy who said we have a victim mentality wants to come up on the box. Dude, you're not coming up. So supposedly Suge's up here, but I don't see him.
Suge.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, hi, handsome.
Yeah, they heard you now. Yeah, we're connection's not the best where we are, but once the little one heads back for his therapy, then I'm gonna step out and I'll yap more. But go ahead and tell him. So,
White.
That makes my whole day. Thank you so much. Oh, you're so sweet. You raising that baby right, Suge. But I think like what I was saying about the individualism stuff, I think if people would have been taught to care more about themselves than what their family thinks and stuff like that, not necessarily saying to not care about them, but not what they think, then maybe people would have been brave enough to stop voting and following along with what their family was doing in so many different ways.
Possibly.
And thank you for that, Shug.
Yeah. There's again, we are in a current situation where what does communism mean, Judy? What do you think communism is? To say that we're heading in that direction. Because I don't think you know what communism is. I think you just know what people have told you. Because if you really knew, you would know we're nowhere even close to one. Nor does anyone really want one.
Because if we really wanted a communist country, we wouldn't be sitting up here talking about voting in primaries, because it wouldn't be a thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about what people have learned about what communism is based on what other countries have done, which is not real communism or what communism really looks like. And that's why I say, I mean, even me, who actually would love a society where we weren't working to make tons and tons of money. We were working for the betterment of society as a whole. You can vote, but the outcome is predetermined. No, it's not. No, it's not. If it was, the most corrupt state legislature, the state senator in North Carolina politics wouldn't have lost by 23 votes and had to concede. This guy, the guy who lost his primary by 23. Oh, you're talking about in Russia? Well, yeah. That's not a communist. Sorry. You were talking about somewhere else. Gotcha. I understand now.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Sometimes, don't forget, y'all, sometimes it's hard to understand what you're saying in the chat, especially when it keeps moving.
Hey, man from the West. Here's the thing. When it comes to communism, socialism, all of those isms, most of the countries that have tried it, or at least say that they were part of it, weren't. Like, if you look at what it really looks like, we're talking the real basis of what a socialist or a communist society look like. None of them have done it. Now, do I think there are some supreme dangers with socialism and communism because it opens the possibility of authoritarianism? Yes. Because if you look at all of the countries that are supposedly communist or socialist history up until now, they aren't. They have some small aspects of those societies that they use as examples of how they are part of it. That's how they justify saying they're part of those they're those kind of societies. But if you look at it from a whole perspective, they aren't. They're an authoritarian country which does some bits and pieces. Heck, you look at Russia, they're an authoritarian society that does bits and pieces of communism, of capitalism, like a lot of different things. It's not, like, it's all about, in the end, it's all about what you offer and what kind of guardrails you put up to protect society from becoming something. And yeah, I mean, look at our own society. We're sitting here saying how great it is. We pretty much have, we barely, in my opinion, have, like, we still are a democracy, but it's a democracy that is on life support right now because the people are not doing the necessary part of democracy. Democracy works when people are involved in it. The reason we call ourselves, we say how we have authoritarian tendencies going on in this country right now are because the parts of our system that were designed to protect against those very things aren't doing their jobs, i.e., people like Congress, people like us as voters. We aren't doing our jobs in this society to keep it functioning. Lobbying caused us to fail? No. No. Lobbying didn't cause us to fail. Unregulated capitalism is a blame for lobbying. And again, people not getting out and voting and holding our politicians accountable is what caused us to is what's causing us to fail. We know, we sit here and we say all these politicians are corrupt. You know, Republican Party, even Democratic Party. But in order for that to happen, people have to be on the same side. No, they don't. No, we have to have the same fundamentals. That's all we need to have. We've been convinced we need to be on the same side. We're never all on the same side about everything. You think Kia and Shug and I agree on everything? No.
Nope. Because I kind of agree with why he thinks we need to have term limits, but I thought we've always need to have term limits because I don't think even because I don't even, I guess it is holding them accountable or whatever, but I just don't think that someone should get to represent for 30 years. I don't care whether or not you're doing good things or bad things. I don't think that you should get to do that job for 30 years.
And I think
I don't think you should be 80, 85, 90. I think we have to have term limits because there's so many things that are changed and different. And I just think we've got to, if anything, we've seen what this horrible timeline has showed us that we have a lot to fix. We thought we were so great. Well, some people did. I never thought we were, but a lot of people thought we were so great. But now we see the flaws and the cracks and we know where to fix.
Yep. And I've always actually been for age limits. I think there should be a retirement age, an age of retirement for being a active member of Congress. Like if you want to set up some sort of like, senior position for people to help, new people, I'd be open to that. And even to an extent, when it came to term limits, I was always open to it to a certain point. Because I agree, no one should be able to make this a career. That being said, I was always, my reason that I always pushed against it, at least in for the House of Representatives, was because unless we change how often we vote for them, 2 years is like, because of the way we do our election cycles right now, the second they get voted in, they're pretty much working on running for the next time. And that, I feel like I want term limits, but we would need to change that part of it too. Because again, if we want them to be able to spend time working on things, that's one of the reasons. And again, I'm not a fan of the Senate any more than I'm a fan of the House. But one of the reasons the Senate tends to push back more on things than the House is because the senators are in there for 6 years as opposed to 2.
I agree, and I think also because if you're only in there for 2 years, I mean, really, you're doing your thing for a year. Just as you get in stride and you get doing good, it's time for you to start running again.
Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. Change it. Change up their time limits. If you don't want to make it 6, maybe make it 4 instead.
Yeah.
You know, and give them 12 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That would be 3 terms. I think, you know, definitely, like we said yesterday, federal judges and SCOTUS included.
Mm-hmm. I think we also need to double our number of representatives in the House. I think districts need to be half the size that they are. No one can fully represent 750,000 people. It's just not possible. It's just not.
I agree.
It's not possible. I'm sorry. It's not possible.
And then when you're doing this gerrymandering shit, they don't take into consideration, like in North Carolina, we've got beaches, we've got mountains, we've got farmland, we've got Outer Banks, which is like a whole different kind of thing that they're dealing with, all the climate change, all these houses. Y'all, there's 20 houses that have fallen in the last year at the Outer Banks in the ocean. Now they're actually trying to move some of the homes back from the coast. The coast is eroding. So like those people, like people who live in Charlotte have different needs than somebody that like lives in my county where I'm surrounded by fields.
Now, that being said, I also believe that what needs to happen when it comes to state and federal is, so I agree in some ways that the federal government needs to stay out of certain things when it comes to states. So here's, again, this is, to me, it feels blatantly obvious, but obviously it's not obvious to everyone. So I think there are two different, I think the federal government's job is to help when it comes to emergencies across the country. The nice thing about the federal government, about any government, when it comes to stuff, is their job is not to make a profit. That's the nice thing. But in my mind, the federal government's job is to deal with things that literally affect everyone. So a federal government's job should be to make everybody's life better. So when it comes to things like, you know, having minimum wage, I think that should be a federal thing. I think the federal position should be everyone's wage should be federally protected. I think healthcare is a right that all people should have, and I think the federal government being involved in that is a good thing. I think education is something that everyone should have access to. I think the federal government should be involved in that. I think like those kind of things, people's rights, people's bodily autonomy, things that are protected by the Constitution, people's right to vote, those things should be protected by the federal government. What I think we've done bad at is we say, like, we as a government at least have you know, and this is one of the things I'm noticing when I'm interacting with state and federal people who are running for office. This is why state gerrymandering is so bad. Like, federal gerrymandering is bad in its own right. I think part of the reason federal gerrymandering is so bad is because of the number of people in each district. It makes it actually easier to gerrymander if you have 750,000 people to move around as opposed to, you know, 400,000. I think it would actually be harder to gerrymander in that sense. But I think in states, the states aren't doing enough. Like protecting the Outer Banks. That should be the state that is doing that. That should be the state that has all the separate districts that's protecting it. And if the state needs help from the federal government because it's just a bigger job than we have the capability of, like something like the Outer Banks, which is, it's probably a huge problem and it's not something that can easily be fixed, then yeah, I think we need to bring the federal government in on that. But when it comes down to it, we as a whole, and this is why I say we as a whole. So not only do we not get on vote in primaries, not only do we not vote in general elections, most people don't know who their state representatives are. Most people don't know who their local representatives are. Most people don't even vote for those people.
Okay, so I partially disagree with you on that. I think it should be kind of a two thing. I think because it's part of the border. The Outer Banks is like part of the border. So I think that Border Patrol, they get all this money, then they should be. I think FEMA. I think that's what FEMA is for, because it's not an individual state's fault. Climate change.
Sure.
I think anything that has to do with climate change, I think definitely the government should be at fault, should be held responsible for it. And if that means making sure that they're stop fucking deregulating and stop letting these companies just dump shit in waters and grounds and dirt and keep building AI centers to keep going ahead and using all the water and increase the temperature and doing all the things, I think the federal government should have to pay for that.
Sure.
Now, I think if they want to come up with a way where the government does, 75% of it or whatever, but again, I don't think that's a state created problem. North Carolina itself didn't do anything to make the houses start falling in on the beaches and stuff like that.
No, and again, I was saying it more in the sense of the states are supposed to be the ones that are more in tune with what's going on in their state and have the ability to go to the federal government for things that are beyond the scope of a normal running of the state. That was more what I meant. I used the Outer Banks because that was a specific situation you brought up. But you could say that with anything that is going on. I think the states are supposed to be the ones that are more in tune with their state. And then when they need help from the federal government, say, look, we've got this going on. And we've done the work. These are the reasons, these are the problems that we're having. And we need to be able to go to our representatives in the House who can go and fight for that help that we've got. We're just not doing that. That is more what I was saying. Not, like I said, I use the Outer Banks because you mentioned a specific situation. That obviously is a very different situation. But again, we should be able to, the people of the states should be able to go to their representatives and fight for these things. And the problem is that because of the way we are doing things, they're caring more about, trans people than they are, or their religion than they are, all of the people that live in their district. And that's partially because they have 750,000 people. That's also partially because we have a whole group of people, politicians, that don't actually care about, they don't have humanity or lack any true humanity. They have humanity, quote unquote, for people that agree with them. And they don't have it for anybody else.
And I'll add to that, because I think and that's part of the issue is like the state shouldn't even have to fight for that money. Because I mean, look at North Carolina. When has the North Carolina mountains been decimated by a hurricane? By a hurricane. You know what I mean? And there's people out there still struggling since that
Sure.
happened. And you know, and it's crazy. Like it, and I know a lot of people say FAFO, and I totally agree. But I think this is the thing is I think one of the biggest issue is the money, because I think why a lot of people, and what pisses me off is that you sit here and you're allowing your friends or your children to get multi-million and billion-dollar deals for their private companies, increasing their wealth instead of doing what's best, trying to actually hire contractors that are like people or different things like that to help build and boost that community. Like spend the money in the community. Stop giving the money to these freaking multi-billion-dollar companies. And they shouldn't have to fight. And that's the crazy thing about it. That money is our money.
Mhm.
It comes from taxes. The federal government isn't generating it. They're getting it from us. And it's not fair. That's the crazy shit about it. The people should have a lot more say. And these folks that are up here, like just signing off on that stuff, the fact you keep voting for them, it's frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, they shouldn't have to fight for it. Obviously, there's a lot of shouldn'ts going on right now. And again, for me, in what I'm talking about, it wouldn't be fighting for it in the way we hear about fighting for it right now, the way we think about fighting for it right now. I say fighting for it in the sense of they're the ones that live there, so they're the ones that come in. They're the ones that have the ability to come and give the, be that opening saying, there's a problem here. Let's it's time for the federal government to look at how we can help fix that problem, whether it's talking to FEMA or talking to somebody else. Like it still has to start somewhere. And I think right now it's fighting, literally fighting. Where what it should be is, a problem happens, it goes to the state. If the state, for whatever reason, depending on what the problem is, isn't capable of actually fixing it, then it should go up to a federal, and the federal should figure out how to help fix the problem. It's where now it's just, oh, is it a Democrat area? Is it a Republican area? Is it a wealthy area? Is it a poor area? Do they make me a lot of money? Like, that's all they care about.
I think the other thing you're forgetting too is it a BIPOC area? Is it a black and brown area?
Yep.
Like I just saw a video yesterday, and then I only saw it because another creator that I had recently liked one of her videos had like stitched it or whatever, and it was this whitey woman, and she was sitting there she made the comment about talking about data centers, talking about, well, why don't they just get the water from Flint or something with the water in Flint? And I'm just like,
RSR, do you believe 1.5% is a vast majority? Because that is all that he won by, was 1.5%. That's
also telling somebody what they should respect is like, that's not cool at all. You don't get to tell somebody what they should do, period. You don't get respect because of what your title is. You get respect because you earn it.
he is the president, if that's what you're trying to say. I have no doubt, but it is our job and our responsibility as voters. Nope, not a landslide. Electorally and popular by, no, it's not. 1.5% is not a huge landslide. That's actually one of the smallest wins in electoral history. And you can't go by the Electoral College. The Electoral College, you could win every state by 0.01% and still become president. That doesn't mean you won by a landslide. It means you barely won. And again, when you consider there's 220 million voters in this country, winning by 1.5 million people is not a landslide. Are you considering the extreme risk of doing nothing? Yes. And I don't consider it an extreme risk. The only reason there is any risk is because we as the United States and that other country that decided to go into Iran too, can't stop doing things. We can't get out of our own way. That is the reason that there is even an issue. The reason that that the government there is even in charge is because we as the United States decided to stick our own foot in our mouth and overthrow the democratically elected government in Iran and put in our own puppet who then got overthrown. The only reason that it even exists is because of us. Because we don't have the capability of telling other people what they should do and how they should live their life, even though we can't even get our own shit together. Compared to the rest, no, it's not. No, it's not, Mark. No, it's not. Do you know how many times that other country has been saying that they are 2 weeks away from vaporizing some country? They've been saying it. The BB has been saying that for over 20 years. Almost every year he goes onto the world stage and says they are weeks away. They are weeks away. And you know what never happens? Anything. The only reason that they even care about us is because we can't stop sticking our fucking feet and butt and nose and every other body part in all of their businesses. You think they don't know that if they did anything, their entire country would be vaporized by the rest of the world? By us? You think there's a reason they call it mutual destruction? It's their 57-year goal. 57-year? Wow. 50. It's their 57.3-year goal. Worst administration ever. No, my mod will mute you if you do something that's against the rules of this live.
There you go.
And whining about getting muted is one of the things that's going to get you muted again. Well, Dean, I appreciate that you that you're here. I do. I don't appreciate that you vote Republican right now for a lot of reasons that I can say, but I do appreciate that you are being respectful. And I hope that people can come in and listen as much, if not more, than they talk. Because the reality is while I think there is a large portion of people in this country that lack humanity and empathy, in the end, we're still all trying to do our best. And I think there are a lot of reasons why those people that are just still also trying to do their best come out with the way that end up coming the way they are, becoming the way they are. In the end, we're still all trying to do our best. takes personal spots. I mean, this is a personal situation though, Dean. You don't think the suffering of others is personal? Watch the films of H, then reconsider the risk. I don't even know what that means.
I say as a black woman, I'm definitely pissed off. As a black person in this country, I mean, holy shit. It was like not even what 60 years ago when things were getting set up to give us the rights to vote equally and all of that stuff, and here it is. You got people trying to gerrymander, trying to silence the black vote. It's just really horrible and disgusting. This country is just as racist as it was when it had slaves.
And I think that's the problem. And again, Dean, I appreciate you coming in and saying these things, because it is something that I think a lot of people who vote Republican need to hear. No, they're not, Anna. Again. People, the people that don't tend to have to experience the results of what the GOP are doing across this country are the ones that are like, I don't know why you're making this, why you're making this so personal, why you're getting so emotional about it. Well, because people's lives are at stake. How would you feel? Again, regardless of whether you understand it, because let's be fair, let's go with a trans person. Most of us, a majority of us, because they aren't a high percentage, a majority of us have no idea what it's like to be a trans person, to realize that you were born in the body of a different gender than you were given at birth. And because of that, we hear them and we can't comprehend it. It doesn't matter how empathetic I am. I'm not going to be able to understand what it's like to do that. It's going to seem weird to me. Not weird in a bad way, but I can't process that. And that's not a bad thing. It's a reality. But what I can do is listen to them and say, their experiences. They can tell you their experiences. And when they say that, because glad you're not throwing dice for you. Okay. When they see someone who supports the creation of laws that endanger their lives and their safety, or speak rhetoric that endanger their lives or safety, that's a personal thing. He is obsessed with this idea that Iran is days away from having a nuclear arsenal that will vaporize New York City. Don't worry about it. I've been hurt by someone who thought I was condemning them, but I never have. I've had people think that I was saying one thing when I was saying another. That's another thing we're not good at. We're really not good at communication. Both sides, all sides. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of anger. There's a lot of emotion. And we as a whole need to get better at thinking about what we are going to say can be perceived. Like, take yesterday. Yesterday, wasn't thinking. I wrote Happy Veterans Day. Something that I've said, admittedly, for a long time. And people who were part of the military, or even not in many cases, or had people in the military, came in and said, this is not supposed to be a happy day. And I said, you know what? You're right. So I ended my live and started again with a new title. Because at that moment, I didn't think about what I wrote and how that could be perceived. That's something that we need to get better at doing. We need to think, and there's a lot of people out there that get frustrated by that, right? There's a lot of people that get frustrated by that. They feel like they can't say anything. Here's the thing, and I can't speak for everyone, because there are definitely people that are more progressive that will literally jump on you no matter what you say. If you say something wrong in their opinion, they will get on you. I get that. It happens to me. But I can tell you is that a majority of people, like I say this with, I've said this about when it comes to interacting about the BIPOC community with people such as Kia and Shug. They don't expect me to get everything right. They expect me to care when I get something wrong. They expect me to care about trying to be respectful of not just me, but them. So what happens? I say something that I grew up with, such as, let's go with master bedroom. I say something like master bedroom because, again, I grew up, it was just a master bedroom. That was what it was called, right? That is how I grew up. And then Kia told me about why it was called a master bedroom. Does it hurt saying my bedroom or the large bedroom or the main bedroom or whatever? No. Is it a big deal? Do I still make a mistake sometime because I spent 30 plus years knowing it as a master bedroom, and sometimes when I'm tired especially, it comes out? Sure. But they know I care. They know I try. And when I talk, I do try and think about how what I'm saying is being perceived. Because it's not just about me. It's about all of you. It's about everybody. Like, people think that I'm not. I spend a lot of breaks. Like, when I talk, I spend breaks. I put a lot of breaks in because I'm thinking about how I'm saying gets perceived while I'm saying it. Because my goal is to have conversation. And if what I'm saying causes someone to get defensive, then I didn't help the conversation, did I? My goals are, I failed in my goals if what I'm saying does not help the conversation. Liddy, I saw you come in. Congratulations, buddy. It was an awesome wedding.
Congratulations. I have to say, that's why I'm still here. That's why I go so hard as your ninja, because you've always been open and accepting. I don't think you've ever gotten defensive. I know you may not always like it in the minute, and you're just like me. Sometimes you got to process. It takes a minute. You got to process. So that's one of my favorite things about you is that you're open when you're wrong, because I am always right. But that being said, you take it. You're willing to learn. You don't get defensive, because when people get defensive and they send DMs and they want to inbox you and stuff like that, and that tells me that what I was saying went right over their head. And if you're getting defensive about it, you got to take a minute. And it is tough sometimes, but you got to take that minute and be like, why did that get me upset? Like, you have to think about it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and again, none of us want to fail, right? None of us want to do something that makes us look bad. That is another thing that we are fighting against. A lot of people, especially people around my age and older, were taught to never admit failure. Failure is a form of weakness. That was what we were taught. That is what we are fighting against. That's not an easy one to fight, because again, no one likes to feel bad. People would rather do the right thing. And when you fail, and especially when you feel like you're failing all the time, and I get that. Can you imagine if you grew up, you know, if you're like can you imagine being like Scott? And I think I wouldn't be surprised if there were some periods where he was wondering, and there were, whether he was wondering if he could even be being part of this community, because there were periods that he felt like everything he was saying was wrong. Not because he didn't care, but actually because he did care. That's why I'm glad he stuck around.
Who did you say?
Scott, like when he first got here. But can you imagine if you grew up always having, like always growing up with one thing, and you're not on social media, you're not watching a lot of things, and then all of a sudden you feel like everything you're saying is wrong. It's not easy. It's a painful experience. It's painful to go through that. And we need to understand that too. Again, the problem is not whether or not you're going to fail, because you're all going to fail. Every single one of us. In some way, shape, or form. Doesn't matter how much you try. But it's not whether or not you fail, it's whether or not, and if you are just speaking without thinking, and you are saying things that are insensitive a lot, maybe that's a sign that you need to do more listening and less talking. Or maybe that's a sign you need to get into some other spaces that are not your own bubble, and spend some time learning from other people that have a different perspective. That's why I always tell people, if you as a MAGA person or a Christian nationalist are starting to realize that you were the problem, that the problem was the conservatives in this case, and you realize that you don't want to be a part of that, don't just jump in and think everything's kumbaya on the other side, because you got some learning to do. You know, there's a lot of people, I don't know if you guys have seen the videos of, gosh, what's her face? Ashley Sinclair. Regardless of there's a lot of people that don't trust her, and for valid reasons. The only thing I can say from what I've seen of her stuff is what she's saying, at least, is sounds good. She is
Who are we talking about?
The person, the baby mama of Elon's kid who has left, who was a paid MAGA influencer and is now going on video and talking about everything that happens on the MAGA side. Ashley Sinclair, I think is her name. Yeah. The one props I will give her, because again, I don't fully trust her either, is she's coming out, she's saying what she's saying, and she is not getting defensive when people are, she's going, look, this is the way it is, and I'm not telling you have to like me, I'm just coming out and saying the way it is. And that is a possibility as well, because in the end, It's like I tell people, when I say it's all men till it's no men, I don't expect any woman to trust me. None. None. And if I go into a situation and you as a woman act in the exact way you have every right to act, which is with a lack of trust, it won't stop what I'm doing, but I will also understand and I will understand if you don't want to be a part of this community, you don't want to interact with me because you don't trust men. You have every right to not do it. You know, again, we have a lot of people going in and interacting with her from the far left, assuming that she's turned into a far left person. I don't think she's a far left person. I think she is a content creator who has said that she was, you know, brought in early to the MAGA and was influenced by MAGA and the whole conservative movement and got paid to do it too. All she can do is be different. That doesn't mean I'm gonna trust her. And I don't think that means anyone should just trust her. But I do appreciate what she's doing. Assuming it's all true. Which I have no reason to believe it's not. I think we need to understand sometimes that we are not... Again, there's two... I say this multiple times. There are two different groups in this world right now. There's a group of people that want a future that look like what you want. And then there's people that align with our fundamentals. I'm not going to speak on her. I mean, I think we shouldn't be trusting any person implicitly ever. But in the end, that sometimes is going to be all that we have, right? It can't always be my way or the highway. There are certain things it can be about with that. But when you've got 300 million people in a country, you can't interact with everyone as my way or the highway. There's a ruling class and us, the peasants. I mean, that is definitely a group as well, for sure. And again, I think the reason we got there is because we as a people decided that we weren't going to do our part. And I truly believe that. We as a country decided to not do our part, which was vote, which was pay attention, which is vote in primaries, which is vote everywhere.
Well, I think like for her, in order, sorry, it seemed like I'm coming in random times, but I just in between stuff.
No, you're fine.
The thing with her or anybody, I struggle. Like somebody was asking that question in the chat. And my thing is your only apology can't be sitting in front of a microphone on a screen and making videos. That can't be the only thing that you do. Like you have to actively get out there now and actively do the work and show that you're sorry about what you did. If that's what you truly are. If you are truly sorry about what you did, you need to get out there. You need to be protesting. You need to be, getting engaged with getting candidates elected to try to get this stuff fixed. Because if all you're doing is sitting up there on TikTok saying you're sorry, that don't cut it. That's not enough.
Sure. If your goal in the end is if your goal in the end is trust and kumbaya, yeah, absolutely. And I think that was where part of the problem has come in, is there's been a lot of people, because of social media, have realized it and then just gone on and made the straight up made the I got caught kind of apologies and thought that things would just, move on kind of a thing. And
I don't. Oh, sorry. I thought you were done.
And that's, you know, that's not what she's doing. And again, I don't trust her. I don't trust her. She was willing to say and do a lot of crappy things in order to make money. So no, there shouldn't be full trust in her. And anyone that does is just that's like, welcome, come on in. Like you're kidding yourself. She has shown that in the end, she's willing to do and say whatever to make money. To lie straight up. Has she actually apologized? I don't know. I haven't seen all of her stuff Mission, so I cannot comment on that. Yeah.
Okay. And that's my thing is that I don't even think it has to be all about kumbaya either though, brother. Like honestly, I don't think it necessarily has to be kumbaya. I think it's even more so about what's the word I want to use? Like just showing that you're actually like a decent human fucking being. I don't know the word that I mean, in my head it's all making sense, but my words are stumbling over each other right now.
No, and I do understand what you're saying. I think the difference, so you're coming at it from her coming in and being part of our group. And yes, I think, like, not that she specifically, but anyone who is a part of that, you're talking about coming in and being part of the quote unquote coalition. Yeah, they do. They would need to do everything you are saying. I'm saying I don't think she has any specific desire to be part of any coalition. I think she is the online version of a Massey right now. Maybe not quite as bad as a Massey, but still an online version, like a content creator version of a Massey. She got screwed over by MAGA for and the elites and all the other stuff. She realized, I think with her it may be a little bit more than Massey, but she realized that there was some wrong there, and she is burning down the house. But I don't think she's looking to be a part of anything. She was on, yeah, I saw her. I saw a clip of her on Hassan's live, which again, this is a grifter as well. He's a content creator. And I'm going to be straight. And I don't think I would. I find it hard. I find it hard to answer the question. There is a part of me that sits here and goes, what would I do if Ashley St. Clair, who was in the news and very big and popular, said she wanted to come on my podcast? I mean, I don't think I would interact with her in the way that Hassan did from what I saw, but I also know it's hard. It's hard doing this job, guys.
I think because this is the thing about it. And I think this is, in chat, you can agree or disagree, brother too, is I think that's the issue. Is, are they done with MAGA right now because they're mad, their fifis are hurt, but then they're going to turn around in the next election cycle and keep voting and pushing for the people that are causing all the harm? Are they going to turn around and do that again? I think that's the thing. It's like, so can we trust you for right now, or you not even trust? I'm not even talking about trust, like trust, but you know what I'm saying? Like, do we believe you for right now? And then when you get mad at something else, you're going to turn around and flip flop?
Oh, or I consider, based on what I've seen, I would consider more of one of those center people that will flip flop. 100%. The key is, the question is, and the thing that we struggle with is, is what she is saying true? And again, we have no reason to fully believe it. I think there's a lot of us that are believing it because we want to believe it, because it confirms a lot of biases that we have against this administration. Why hasn't the stock market crashed yet, if true? Because the stock market is owned by like 10%. Most of the stock market, like 70% of the stock market, is owned by the 10% of the richest people in the country. It has nothing. The stock market is so out of reality to the rest of the country. It's disgusting. BS. You know that there's information out there. Like, it's not like
Oh, hell no. I just started reading the bio and I got the first 2 lines in, like, note talking about Europeans are owed reparations from being taken into slavery by Africans. What? TikTok, you gotta do better, bruh.
So why would rich people be so vulnerable? They aren't vulnerable. You don't get it. They don't. A system, they have created a system where they literally buy and trade within themselves to keep the stock values up. They don't have to, they take out loans based on their wealth, so they never have to pay taxes on it. I mean, Elon Musk bought an entire company based on his stock value. He took out loans based on his wealth and bought an entire company, and then just merged it into another company, and then merged it into another company, and then merged. Why are they recording record profits? Because all of us poor people have to keep paying them. Because a lot of things that they are doing are things that are needed to survive. Like, that's why. Why are oil companies making record profits? Because people need gas to drive. And they're getting bloated government contracts. Yeah, I mean, they're making billions off of government contracts, especially now.
I think when you're asking those kind of questions, you're either being disingenuous or you're a troll. Because what do you mean they're vulnerable? Because that's what happens when you kind of like put money into like a made up space, and then you're sitting there and doing all these things to make it go up and down just for you to make money off of not actually doing anything. So either you're being disingenuous or you're being a troll.
Because we've also shown them that we have created a society where certain people can be quote unquote too big to fail. So when they are going to fail, we as a government bail them out. That's what we did after the 2008. It's what we did during COVID. We don't let people fail for their choices, especially if you are ultra wealthy. If you're not ultra wealthy, we let you fail. They let you fail all the time. But if you are one of those billionaires, they won't let you fail.
I was about to say you gotta, because they sure will let a normal poor folk fail real quick, get their house taken away, unalive because you can't afford your medicine, lose your house, end up in a car, and then lose your car. I mean, they're real quick, and that's the crazy part about it. That's art. It's like I don't understand why people are getting upset because people need assistance. We pay tax money so that the people that need assistance can get that. That's what it's for. It's not for the government to just kind of do whatever they want willy nilly with it. Like, that shit is ridiculous.
I mean, when 1% of the people in this country own what, 50% of the wealth, 60% of the wealth, something like that. something ridiculously high. It's 1% is like 40 to 60. I forget what the exact number is. But that's 1%. That's a tiny, tiny ass amount of people. And I think sometimes we forget how big. Sorry, you keep being ready to talk, and I keep talking. I think we forget how big this country is and how many people are. Like, we sit here sometimes and we say, "Oh, these, this dozen, maybe 100." Do you know what socialism is, Daniel? I will wait for an answer. Kia, you can say whatever you want now.
Hang on, I have to keep on drying my hands. Oh God, hang on. You gotta go outside. You gotta go to the bathroom. It stinks. Oh. Ooh. Oh shit. What was I gonna say? I think one of the other things that we need to include is like that people that are in office, whether they're in the Congress, whether they're the president, whether they're federal judges or whatever, they should not be able to. Those folks, well, the folks that take part in decisions that have to do with how these people, the regulations, deregulations, or whatnot, they should not be able to do that. Talking about the damn stock market, so we got people who are actively making decisions at the very top and making shit change. Like that's the kind of stuff that we need to be worried about. But you sitting here talking about immigrants coming over and needing assistance. You're sitting here talking about people needing food stamp or rental assistance and shit like that. It's ridiculous.
And so what do I want, Daniel? I don't really care what. There's a guarantee you don't know what socialism is. But what do I want? I want things that people need to survive. So a place to live, healthcare, food to an extent, energy, even transportation to an extent, to not be commodities, or at least a majority of it. There needs to be some base level that is not a commodity. Healthcare shouldn't be a commodity. Someone's health shouldn't be a commodity. The reason that prices have skyrocketed in housing and healthcare and energy and everything is because it's about making profit. It's because we have turned housing into a commodity. It's not a place to live. It's an investment. No. None of those actually. No. They don't make it easy to get it. And we have been cutting access to those things to people across the board. We're making it harder to get it, not easier.
Not to mention, do you think about something like my mom lives in a senior retirement like apartment building type of thing, right? She's not like this isn't for like people who need like full-on nursing care. These are like for seniors who can live on their own and they have like their own apartments and stuff. So when your only income is your SSI, what have you, say you get a $2 or $3 increase, you know what they do? Or say you get 20, I don't know what the amount is, just to say you get a $25 increase. And you also get food stamps and your rent is based on your income. Do you know what happens? Your rent goes up and your food stamps go down. So it's like the government saying, here's $25 extra a month. Oh, but now in your rent's going to go up another $5 and we're going to cut your food stamps $5. That's really $15.
And
why are people okay with that shit, but giving tax cuts to multi-billionaire people and to corporations? If you missed it yesterday, in order to make $1 billion, you have to make $89,000 a day for 30 years to become a billionaire. But we want to cut food stamps and shit for poor people and the elderly.
And Daniel, the fact that you call it corruption is the problem. We're talking about the people at the bottom. We're talking about the people that have nothing. And you think their desire to get a little bit of extra food, are you all victims? I know you can't talk, but I'm going to say this because it's important that this gets said. We, my family, we can afford to pay our bills. Not because we did anything, because we worked any harder than anybody else. Yeah, I worked hard. I've been working since I was 13. My wife's been working hard. We didn't do anything special. We got lucky. We got really lucky. That is the only reason we are okay. If it were not for our luck, we would not be okay. Even if we worked hard, we would not be okay. Because the system is broken. No, we got lucky. We got lucky. We were able to buy a house post Great Recession. That's the only reason we're doing okay. If we were having to pay rent prices or try and buy a house right now, not possible. We'd be in trouble. We'd be in deep trouble. It's luck. That's all it is. It's complete and utter luck.
I just think that comment in and of itself is just really gross. Because how much work do you think, like actual hard work, do you think Elon did to amass hundreds of billions of dollars worth of wealth?
None.
Please tell me how much hard work you think he did that man is worth that much fucking money.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's the other problem that we don't realize, because again, we're not that wealthy. We don't realize that he doesn't spend money. He borrows off of wealth. He doesn't actually have billions of dollars, trillions of dollars. Like when we say he'll be the first trillionaire, he's not actually a trillionaire. He doesn't actually have $1 trillion, and yet he is able to live as though he is one because of the system we have set up. It's one of the things that I said. I said, if you don't, the fastest initial way that we could make some pretty big change in this world, in this country, is to not let people lend based on their wealth. Or if you have above a certain amount of wealth, you can't just take loans out without being taxed on it. Like if you've got the money in wealth, you get taxed as though you were actually, making that money. Like there's a lot of things that we could do. The point is, things like healthcare, the ability to afford healthcare, the ability to afford housing, the ability to afford food, the ability to heat in the winter and cool in the summer should not, the ability to get to your job should not be, luck should not play a part in that. To afford it. Luxuries, sure, you want to work doubly hard. You want to work 80, 100 hours a week to make extra money so you can get some luxuries. Go for it. I'm all for it. But the basics, the things that are necessary for survival, you shouldn't have to be lucky. You shouldn't have to be lucky to grow up in a house or have a certain skin color or all of these other things that ended up being the reality for a lot of us who don't. You look at our actual income, we don't make a lot. We got lucky. We got lucky in the households we grew up in. We got lucky in situations. Neither of us got a lot of school debt because my mom worked for a college, so I was able to go for free tuition. And my wife went to a state school and was able to do it and had money that family put away for her to be able to afford to pay for it. That's luck. Yes, we both worked our butts off. But if it wasn't for the luck that went around that hard work, we would not be doing okay right now. And that's the point. If luck is required for survival, there's a problem. If luck is involved to succeed past survival, sometimes that's luck is necessary for things. Like I could be lucky and make a video that goes viral and have a lot more funding because of it. Sometimes it's just luck. But survival should not be lucky. Survival should be bare minimum. And that is where the government should be involved, in survival. The fact that our healthcare is not about keeping us healthy, but about making a profit for insurance companies, that's a problem. The fact that housing is not about having a place to live, but getting a place that will grow in value over time, and you can have multiple of them and rent them out or sell them for a profit. That's the problem. The fact that we get told that we need to avoid the cheap foods, but the healthy foods that everyone needs to grow and survive and do well are way more expensive is a problem.
That part.
The fact that the people that help make the food that we need to survive aren't getting enough to pay their bills is a problem. Do I care if the government subsidizes farmers that make food that people in this country can use? No, actually, I'm okay with that. Why? Because that food should be something that all people it should not be about making the government profit. So sure, use some of our tax dollars to make it possible for farmers to grow the food that we need. I'm all for it.
Because then we can still afford our food.
Because that's, I've always said, the reason things, some of these, the biggest things like medications that we have that have helped this society, you want to know why they have helped society? It's because the government is the one putting in the money for the research. And the government's goal is not to make money back. When your goal is not a profit, your goal is just survival, you can do things better. Why do you think I love the idea of a government-run grocery store that has the basics for survival? Because their goal isn't to make a profit. Their goal is to cover the expenses. Electricity, pay, and the cost of the food. That's all that they got to cover. Your goal isn't to make money past that.
You know, it'd be a totally different thing if we had like ethical landlords that were buying homes, especially if somebody couldn't afford doesn't have the credit or can't afford to buy it, but instead of doubling the mortgage to pay rent, that they're paying maybe, you know, $100 more than, you know what I mean? Something that wouldn't be. And that's the thing. It's like when you've got people in here jacking up rent just to make income, like that just blows my mind.
Nonprofit.
That blows my mind.
Yes. I think a lot of companies and a lot of things, energy shouldn't be for profit because you need energy. We need it. That's why I always laugh when anyone says, "Oh, look how much gas we're creating. Look how much energy we're creating as a country." We're not making it. We're paying people who are trying to make a profit. We're paying people who have stock, who have shareholders that they're trying to get paid. Again, we're not sitting here just trying to cover the cost of doing it. That is what a government does. It puts in an initial thing, knowing you're not going to get it back. And that's fine. We pay taxes every year. We can take some of it and put it towards that, raise it for a little bit to cover the costs, and then get rid of it once it's paid off, kind of a thing. And then what you do is you get the electricity that it creates for the cost of production, the cost of, you know, that government-owned building doesn't have to pay taxes on itself. So that's a save. So you've got the business, you've got the people that work there who are paying taxes as well. So some of that money comes back. And you've got the cost of the creation of the electricity. That's all you need to charge people. And you've got a government with funding to do things like maintenance of things like, you know, lines and stuff like that. And that just comes in taxes. Put a little, you know, if 1%, if you need a 1%, let's say a 1% increase in taxes. I don't think it would be that, but let's say that. But you knew you were going to get, that was going to cover the cost of repairing stuff that breaks, because things break all the time. But you know you're going to get affordable electricity. That's not about making a profit. Like, again, this is like, we're in where we are because everything has to be about how much money can we make. That's why there are no third spaces. That's why community centers are dead. That's why every third space that exists, you have to be able to have money. And that's why third spaces are practically gone. Because I don't want to go somewhere and spend money just to sit down with people. I'd rather go somewhere and meet people that have similar interests that I do. That's why I loved, like, I was part of like an ultimate frisbee club for a while. So I loved it.
Can I say real quick, I know you're getting to the end, but you know, if you've seen like on the news, like I've been seeing, there's been stories about, you know, especially teens and young folks, like in this one area, they're showing there's a bunch of teens that are riding on e-bikes, like in the road and just doing things. And I'm like, does anybody take into effect, everybody wants to scream about how bad the damn kids and all that stuff are. What is it for them to do? What have we created for them to do? Where did the YMCAs go?
Oh, they're still there. They're just expensive as hell.
And that's the thing. I remember like when we went to the one in Colorado Springs, like we didn't have to pay for it. Now, additional things, we got like a discounted price. Like they went to Colorado's at Diamondbacks, their baseball team.
Mm-hmm.
They went to a game and I think it was like $5 a ticket. And then like for people who couldn't, they could write in, you know, and they would get their cost covered. But where's stuff like that though? That you don't have to pay an arm and a leg and a whole mortgage. You know what I mean? What is there for the kids to fucking do?
Mm-hmm. And again, to do things at the YMCA, especially in places like where I'm at, The YMCA is not close. Which means if when my kid did anything with the YMCA, we'd have to be able to drive them there and not be working a billion hours. So it's like we're literally shooting ourselves in the foot and complaining that our foot, you know, has a giant hole in it. I'm not sure where you're at. I have a bunch of YMCAs. Oh, well, if your experience is that way, then that must be everybody's experience. This is what I'm talking about, people, when it comes to listening to others and believing them. There's a lot of places that don't have any YMCAs, especially if you're in rural America. And again, the problem is not just lack of YMCAs, it's the fact that YMCAs cost money.
Yes,
and these people already don't have money.
Not only that, there's 50 states. 50 whole different states. And within each states, there's different things. Like, that's such a tone deaf just comment.
Well, it's just...
Brother, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Guys, if you haven't collected your points, please collect your points. If you aren't following over in the tube, please do. I'm posting stuff every day. I posted another episode today of someone who's running for governor in Tennessee. I posted yesterday about someone who's running for a state seat in North Carolina. She's actually a part of this community. You should check her out, check it out, and share it with people. Please watch and share those. The best way to help these people that are running, that want to make real change, is for name recognition and visibility, which happens when their content is watched and pushed out, because then it increases the chance that other people will view them and say, ooh, I want to interview them too. So please, 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 please. I understand everyone's tired. I understand everyone's struggling. It's something very easy to do. Watch, like, share, comment. They don't take long. They really don't. And they're amazing people and worth a watch. So please help out if you can. And also, again, know that I'm raising some funds to travel and talk to some of these people live. And for those of you that have given, thank you so very, very much. I appreciate it more than you know. We're about halfway through the first goal because of all of the generosity of so many of you. If you have that capability and want me to be able to do it, please consider giving, but also understand that I understand that life's tough. So I know there are many of you that can't, and I'm okay with that. Just thank you for being here. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for the likes, the shares, and the gifts. I will see you all tomorrow morning. You guys are amazing just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.